What's up, guys? Welcome back to another fantastic episode of Triple Scoop. And today we're going to talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the movies, TV shows, what's going on right now, and what's to come. And I'm joined here by Anthony.
How's it going? I
Hey,
am really happy to be here. There is a lot to unpack.
yeah, there is definitely for sure. And AJ.
Hey everyone, what's going on? I just want to step my feet in here and just want to talk about some Marvel.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then we got Ben as well.
So, guys, I'm ready to talk some WandaVision and all things Marvel because we have a lot to talk about and a lot of theories to discuss.
Yep, and that's a great point. So we're just getting right into it, honestly. So WandaVision is the show that's out right now. It's streaming through Disney Plus, and we're all caught up. So if you haven't seen WandaVision, I'd suggest that you watch those before listening to this episode because we are going to get into some heavy spoilers for the show, and there are a lot of spoilers to cover. So I'm just going to open up the floor. How about Ben? Start us off. What do you think of WandaVision so far? Like, what's your overall feel of the show?
I love it. I remember when they announced all these shows, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, WandaVision. Everyone was like, "Oh, I can't wait for the Loki show. Like that's going to be the best one of the three." And I was telling them, "Just wait. WandaVision is going to blow everyone's minds." And so far, it has. There's been a lot of crazy things go down. They introduced Sword, Pietro's back. It's just so crazy. Wanda's going insane. It's kind of like House of M. So it's been a wild ride so far, and I'm ready for these next 3 episodes to come out.
Yeah, I'm hyped too. How about you, AJ? AJ, what's your overall thoughts on WandaVision so far?
Okay, when I first heard about the show, I distinctly remember where I first heard about it. Super Bowl of last year, I was at a diner and I was watching the game, the commercials, and then I just see a trailer for WandaVision. And it's crazy to think that it was literally a year ago, and then the show came out. And then when it came out, like people are losing their minds. Like nobody knows exactly what's going on, especially with the first 2 episodes that came out on that day. So yeah, I think it really is a huge wild ride that's going on right now. And I've been seeing what's going on with Falcon Winter Soldier coming up next month. So like I'm kind of excited about what's gonna happen.
Yeah, for sure. Anthony?
Um, so when I first heard about WandaVision, I really didn't care because Wanda, for the most part, was kind of a side character in the MCU. Especially when she was introduced in Age of Ultron, she was like, nah, okay. Like she kind of had her little moments here and there, but nothing really much. And then the trailers came out. I kind of felt the same. I was going to watch it regardless, just because I knew that it was going to be a big bouncing off point for the MCU. And honestly, it really surpassed my expectations. The first 2 episodes, I know that there was a fair amount of people who didn't really like those episodes, but I loved them because they were just very out there. And the show overall has been really out there and very different from what we've gotten in the MCU. Even though, to give them credit, the MCU as of recent has been really like changing up things recently.
Yeah. And kind of like defying expectations. Like that's really what the show is for me. It's just I knew they're gonna be playing, from the trailer you could see that they're like playing with like sitcom kind of stuff, but I never expected like starting those first 2 episodes and it's literally just like Wanda and Vision just like living the lives of like protagonists of these kind of like 50s and 60s sitcom shows. And I think a lot of fans were just not expecting that. I certainly wasn't. I had no idea they were going to do anything like that. And I really couldn't be more pleasantly surprised. Like WandaVision to me is like one of the most fresh things that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has put out there, like probably since like Thor Ragnarok. Like year that was like 2017. So probably in 4 years, this is the most fresh and exciting thing.
Yeah,
No,
no,
exactly.
I definitely agree with that because I remember, back in 2014, 2015, you have people saying, "Oh, the Marvel formula, this happens and then this happens and then this happens." Like this is every movie. But like you said, since Thor Ragnarok, I feel like there's been like a lot of different risks taken. Like Infinity War, for instance, the villain never wins. He won in this one, in that one. I mean, like, and then WandaVision. We're swapping through sitcoms. Wanda's going crazy. Like they're taking a lot of risk and they're landing on a lot of them too.
Yeah, for sure. Do you guys like I know one of the biggest things with the show is like it's so much fun to speculate. You know, we never really had that with the MCU, unless you watch like some of the other TV shows they put out. But this is like the first like I hate to say it, but like real MCU TV show that uses like big characters from the franchise in a like an episodic format. And like one of the biggest joys is watching each episode and then like theorizing about what's going to come next. Do you guys have any like thoughts on where the show is going to go? At the time of this recording, we still have I think 3 more to go. Is that right?
Yes, there's 3
Yeah,
more
we have
episodes.
3
left.
more, and
Mhm.
from what I've heard, they're going to be the longest episodes, so I think around an hour long each. So
See,
if
see,
you really
nah,
break it down, we're not even halfway through the show, or
episode
we're like just
episode 7 is
halfway.
38 minutes. It was confirmed. It's
How
38
long?
minutes. 38.
Um,
So the
Oh,
last
no,
2
that's too
episodes
bad.
have to be really long because this
yeah,
one's only
because
38. We're only
these
getting
episodes
actual
have been
30
kind of
minutes of
short.
content.
That's my only downside with the show is that the episodes have been kind of short. But in terms of theories, Paul Bettany has been teasing like this big secret character reveal. And so there's been a lot of theories, but I forget who I heard it from, but they threw out Alfred Molina. And I feel like it might be interesting.
Wait, who would that be?
Maybe appearing, I don't know, somehow as Doc Ock in some
Oh,
kind of multiverse kind of way,
Oh,
because
so
isn't it supposed to tie in with Spider-Man and Doctor Strange as kind of like a trilogy kind of
that'd
thing?
be sick.
And then also Catherine Hahn, if I remember correctly, she voiced Doc Ock in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So maybe I know that she's kind of an interesting character where we're not really sure whether she's actually fully a part of Westview and Wanda's manipulation. Clearly, she is to a degree, but to what degree, we're not really sure yet. So maybe she kind of is the connective tissue with that in some regard. I'm kind of just throwing darts at a dartboard and hoping it lands, but I still think it's an interesting route to go.
I know some people think that I think so. So what you're referring to is like when Monica Rambeau was like, "Oh, I know this like astrophysicist scientist," and like they're super awesome. A lot of people think, like, "Well, who is this scientist?" There's a lot of scientists in Marvel. It could be a lot of characters. Some people think the one that I heard that got me pretty amped was one of the episodes is going to be an Office like parody, and
Yes.
that's how they
Oh
introduced
yeah,
John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic.
See, I definitely think John Krasinski is going to play Mr. Fantastic, and I have a way that they could tie this in. When obviously Monica mentioned it, aerospace, I thought right away, okay, Mr. Fantastic. But I was like, how are they gonna, make him, actually Mr. Fantastic and not just Reed Richards? So I have a theory that he's going to go into the hex, right? With the group, with the Fantastic Four. They're all going to be there. That's going to be like his team, like as an astrophysicist, and they're going to go in. And obviously, in the comics and in the earlier movies, there's been obviously the explosion that causes their powers, and that's an exploding star. So they mentioned plenty of times that the hex is kind of releasing this CNBR, like this cosmic radiation. So I'm thinking they go into the hex, and that's how they get their powers.
That's interesting. I would like
Yeah,
to see I thought the same thing, but not with the Fantastic Four, with just X-Men in general.
yeah. I mean, they could tie in the X Men as well. Like some residents of Westview have the dormant X gene, like Wanda and Pietro did, because they technically couldn't say, oh, they're mutants. So now they could kind of, bring in that the X gene is being affected while people are in the hex, and it's been
Yeah.
shown with Monica Rambeau as as Photon. I mean, I don't think
Yeah,
they're
she's like
going to
mutant.
take the route of her being an X Men, but I definitely think they're taking the route of, oh, the hex is changing people and it's giving them powers, and that could be the same for Darcy. Darcy could be a superhero in an upcoming movie, for all we know, especially
That'd be
because she got
interesting.
sucked into the hex.
definitely. I
So
definitely want to build on that because that ties into one of the bigger theories that I have. So I think that somehow by the end of the show, Wanda's obviously expanded the hex a lot, and somehow, in some way, the like you said, the people in the hex were affected. Whether it's they got powers or like it unlocked like this certain gene, like the X gene, or however you want to really explain it. But what ends up happening is maybe through like some deal with Mephisto, maybe she's able to go off in her own little pocket reality with her X-Men or her mutants rather, and she's pretty much able to do whatever she wants there. And then later on in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, we kind of get a peek into that a little bit. Like we see, because I've heard that Wanda, or at least Elizabeth Olsen, has been on set for Doctor Strange. So I don't know how big her role is going to be in. So maybe we see a lot of her, but we only get a peek into her little pocket reality.
So,
And then
so
maybe later on they have a bigger reveal whenever they get to Secret Invasion, because I know that that's a big plan for at the end.
So what you're saying is kind of like a House of M situation where she kind of makes her own reality and lives in it with all these mutants. Is that what you kind of
Yeah,
imply?
pretty much.
That would be cool. I would really like that. But I think that she will be the villain by the end of the show. I think because she said in episode 6 she doesn't know how she's doing this. I think Mephisto's in her head. I think Mephisto is definitely in her head, and there's like kind of two sides. There's you know, Wanda Maximoff, and then there's Scarlet Witch, because Jimmy Woo, amazing. We all love Jimmy Woo, and director Hayward. They you know, they had a little comical banter like, oh, does she not have like an alias or a name? And they were like, no, like she just goes by her name. So I think they're gonna, you know, kind of introduce that, you know, there are two sides to Wanda, and the Scarlet Witch aspect is controlled by Mephisto. And then obviously Mephisto in the comics, he wants control of the multiverse. So that's why the multiverse is gonna be in shambles. Wanda's gonna be the villain in Doctor Strange too.
Mephisto could also tie into Spider-Man, because if you remember, I believe it was One More Day back in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, after
It
Civil
was
War.
after Aunt May
Yes.
got shot. Mephisto made a deal with Spider-Man where, or I think it was like his identity also got revealed or something.
Yeah, that's the reason why
But-
Aunt May got shot.
Yeah, and so pretty much Mephisto was like, "Hey, I'm gonna undo all of this, but you have to split up with Mary Jane." And I believe they were married at the time. So Mephisto could also tie into that, because I know that they have the identity crisis at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home.
So here's a theory that I heard. You know how like WandaVision takes place like pretty soon after Endgame? Apparently, like, so I saw someone say the reason why in Spider-Man Far From Home that J.K. Simmons is J. Jonah Jameson is because he's already an example of how Wanda shifts reality, where she probably brought him in from the Raimiverse into the MCU because Far From Home takes place after the events of WandaVision.
Oh
That
wow,
makes a lot of
Oh.
sense.
that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
So, question, because this was so arguably the biggest moment, at least for me, was so far in episode 5, when we got the reveal of Evan Peters' Quicksilver. Unfortunately for me, that was a reveal that was spoiled for me. I saw it. Someone posted it on Instagram before I saw the episode. So I'm gonna
same
ask you
here.
guys. Let's hear AJ. What was your reaction to Evan Peters as Quicksilver, as Pietro, in WandaVision?
I thought it was kind of cool. I mean, it also felt like an inevitability that because this Quicksilver is the uh X-Men version of Quicksilver, not the MCU version, or am I getting them confused?
Oh yeah. So if you're not familiar, Evan P. So it's the same character. It's just the Fox X-Men version of that character.
Okay, just wanted to make sure because like I said, it was kind of an inevitability that they were gonna like merge all their X-Men stuff, all the not Spider-Man, but like Fantastic Four, like all the stuff from 20th Century Fox into the Disney MCU. It was so like I kind of expected it, but I just didn't know that it was gonna happen like this soon because like they were planning stuff for let's say X-Men, Fantastic Four, I think Blade as well. But that was gonna be like 5, maybe 6 years. So it was just kind of surprised that they were gonna like start integrating all this stuff like not even 3 years after Endgame. That's just crazy to me.
Yeah, for sure. Anthony, what was your take on that?
Well, I also got it spoiled for me. I
Oh
saw
no,
a
really?
picture of the leak a couple days beforehand, and I just went, but I was kind of interested in how they were going to bring him in. Um, at first, I definitely thought that it could definitely tie into bringing Wanda, like maybe subconsciously bringing in other people from other realities. So like how you said earlier with J.K. Simmons being brought in and becoming J. Jonah Jameson, the same thing would happen with Pietro. Like Peter from the X-Men verse came in and he's now
Hmm.
Pietro.
Yeah, that.
See, the way I see it was when I it wasn't spoiled for me, and I had a crazy reaction. I watched 3 a.m. every episode. Like I don't want it to get spoiled for me, so I watch it directly when it comes out. So I saw the back of the
That's
head.
smart, man.
I knew right away who it was. I knew it was Evan Peters. I freaked out. So the first couple of days after that, I'm like, oh wow, like I can't believe they're bringing in the multiverse. Peter Maximoff from the X-Men universe, he's coming in. And then the more I thought about it and the more the episodes, kind of passed, they've been kind of making it adamantly clear that they recasted Pietro. And like the way I'm seeing it is that Wanda's already has so much trauma. I don't think she would want to bring back like an actual like spitting image of her brother like in her reality. So what I think it's not, it's just a new character. It's nobody. It's Pietro Maximoff. Like it's she didn't want to see her own brother because it would be too traumatic if he were to die again. So I think she just recasted him just so, like she doesn't have to see him like dead like she did with Vision or like she did with Evan Peters in episode 6. So I don't think this is them bringing in the X-Men just yet. I could see them possibly doing it in the next couple of years, maybe even by the end of the season, where they kind of bring it in, with Magneto, because they've been mentioning her parents a lot. And like we've noticed in the beginning, they mentioned Pietro a lot, and then Pietro showed up. And then they
Yeah.
mentioned in the last episode, they said mom and dad would love this place. So I think they're going to show up in the next couple of episodes. I don't know if it's going to be Magneto. I don't know if it's going to be the people in those commercials, like the actors in those commercials. They could be a subconscious remembering of her parents. Like it could go any way, but I don't think this Quicksilver is Peter Maximoff from the X-Men.
Yeah, I honestly, I'm kind of with you on that. I think maybe like, and I don't even think she brought him back because she seems genuinely confused by his presence. So I do think it's more of like a fan kind of like Easter egg that they threw at us. I don't take it like he's literally that character from that franchise. More of like maybe that's probably part of the multiverse, and maybe like Mephisto, whoever is like messing with Wanda, kind of just like pulled that image and just planted it in Westview. But I think we're gonna move on to the next topic. So the next topic is going to be, we're going to talk about the MCU. What did it start in 2008? We're over 10 years into this thing. There's like what 22, 23 movies. We're going to talk about kind of like the greatest hits of the MCU. So let's open it up here. Anthony, let me ask you this: can you give us right now your top 5 MCU movies
I can
as they are right now?
actually
Yeah, I know there's a lot on the horizon, but
beforehand. My number 5 is Spider-Man: Far From Home. That might be surprising because it's really recent.
It's on mine too,
Uh,
Anthony. It's on mine
but
too.
I loved Mysterio on that. I loved the whole dynamic where he was actually just using visual effects the whole time. I know it was kind of obvious, but I just thought it was kind of wacky and it was a nice, fun Spider-Man movie, especially after Endgame. My number 4 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. That's mostly just because I love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. You'll see later on. Number 3, Avengers: Infinity War. Um, the ending was just depressing, and I liked that about it. I thought it was very different. I also thought that it was able to balance all of the different stories really well. Number 2 is Guardians of the Galaxy 1. That's the movie that really got me like interested in the MCU, especially the soundtrack. It's just fantastic. You really can't beat it in both movies, honestly. And then number one is Captain America: Winter Soldier. That movie is it's badass, just plain and simple.
Yeah. Honestly, like your list, it, see, I'm happy. Like I'm happy that your list is so different from my list. Because it just shows. Like I'll get to mine later, but like it just shows like how diverse the fan base is. Because there's something for everyone there. Like I think we only had like two or three in common, which is surprising, you know. But so let's move on. So sorry, AJ, let's hear your top 5 MCU movies. Then
Okay,
we're gonna
so I'm
compare
gonna
them all.
do it other way around. So I'm gonna go from 1 to 5. So number one, I'm gonna go for Endgame because like I know a lot of people say that Infinity War is so much better than Endgame, but like the thing is, like if you want to have like an amazing, huge movie, not only do you got to start out strong, you also have to end strong. And I do feel like Endgame kind of hit like all the points on like how to do like a proper finale. So that's why I liked it as number one. Number two, Infinity War, just because well, it's the beginning of this whole two-parter, and just like seeing all the characters interact with one another, that was pretty cool. And actually, that's one of the reasons why I decided to have Endgame as number one, where you focus on you focus on a lesser amount of cast compared to Infinity War, not that to say that everybody didn't get a chance to shine because they did an Infinity War, but focusing more on just a handful of characters rather than all of the characters in Endgame, like I felt that that was like pretty good. And not to not to crap on Infinity War, but that was a pretty good movie, and the ending, of course, was just wow. 3 and 4 is going to be one in Guardians 1 and 2 respectively, just because I saw both movies in theaters. I had a fun time with both of them, either with my family and friends because I did see them twice. And yeah, like I did love the characters. The soundtrack was great, and yeah, that's why I just had them as number 4 and 5, number 3 and 4, correction. And for number 5, this is gonna be strange, but I'm gonna have the first Iron Man movie just because it's very nostalgic for me. Because the first time I saw Iron Man was not in theaters. I actually watched it on a bootleg DVD where it was like a person just recording the film on like a tripod. So like having like those memories of watching the film in such a horrible quality and just like seeing it like become like this, huge universe in the end, it's just something that's really amazing for me, and especially inspiring for somebody like me.
That's a sus. See, personally, I don't like. I noticed so far with like you and Anthony, you have both Guardians in your top 5, which is like that's incredible because like I didn't even think about those movies for my top 10. Like I like those characters, but like they just don't like I register with me obviously as much as they do with you guys. That's kind of cool. So Ben, I'm actually very excited. You have the list that I'm most interested in because I
Yeah.
feel like you're a big Spider-Man guy, so I
Mhm.
want to see where Spider-Man ranks on your list.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go 5 to 1 like Anthony did. Number 5, gotta go Thor Ragnarok. That kind of revitalized, what the Thor character was, because before that, Thor 1 and Thor Dark World, they're to me, they're one of the lesser Marvel movies. They're hard to rewatch. They're not that great. The only reason, Dark World is good is because it introduced the Reality Stone, the Aether, like but it's not a good movie. So I'm gonna go Thor Ragnarok. Taika Waititi did a great job of directing that. Really kind of made me like the character of Thor. Because before that, he was kind of iffy to me. Number 4, Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, Spider-Man Far From Home, I was most excited for it because obviously, like Tyler said, I'm a huge Spider-Man guy. I love he's my favorite superhero, both DC and Marvel. He's just great. So going into it, obviously I knew Mysterio, he was a villain, but in the trailers they're like, oh, he's gonna help Spider-Man against the Elementals. So seeing that twist and then that post credit scene, everything about that movie is so great to me. So number 3, I'm gonna go Civil War. Team Iron Man versus Team Captain America. They really did a great job at kind of making these characters kind of fight against each other because it's not always perfect in the comics, like you never are always one solid team and you're never gonna, stay together for this long. So pitting Captain America against Iron Man with a guy like Zemo. in the comics, he's a pretty minor villain in essence, and we're gonna see him later on in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But seeing him be able to, rip the Avengers apart is just it's so great. I love that movie so much. And then the ending is amazing. The shield in Captain America's uh, arc reactor, like it's just a great movie. Number two, you got to go Endgame there. Endgame, I waited a year for it, or I've waited actually 10 years for it as a Marvel fan. You waited for this whole story that they've been building for this long through 20 something movies. Like you like to see that come to a conclusion. And I'll remember the excitement of finishing Infinity War and then saying, I have to wait a year. I have to wait a year to see Endgame. And so that anticipation really, boosted it up for me. But then number one, I got to go Infinity War. As much as Endgame is great, and it's one of the best Marvel movies ever produced and ever directed and ever put out, Infinity War just has a slight edge on it. I don't know what it is. I think it's the fact that the focus isn't really on the superheroes and it's more on Thanos. I think that because you don't really see that often. You don't see, a superhero movie where the protagonist is also kind of the antagonist. This was kind of Thanos's journey. And it's kind of like, oh, the Avengers are trying to stop him and the Guardians are trying to stop him, but nobody could stop him. It was his journey to get all 6 stones, and he did it. And then that ending, oh wow, that I will never forget how surprised I was in the theater. I saw it 3 days in a row. It was I've seen this movie 18 times.
You saw it 3 days in a row?
I've seen it 3 days in a row on opening weekend.
Oh my
And
god. You must have been crying.
no, it was amazing. And like this is the Marvel movie I've seen the most. Whenever, I'm just bored or whatever, I'll throw this one on because I love this one so much. So seeing that in theaters, no, I had no idea what was going on. He snapped. Obviously, I knew what happened in the comics, but we didn't know how it was doing. And then when Bucky fell, and then, Black Panther fell, the Vision with the scene with Vision and Scarlet Witch, just everything about that final, scene, the Spider-Man, that Spider-Man one, that one hurts. But just seeing all of that, I think that makes it the best Marvel movie of all time.
Fair argument for all of those picks, really. And there's no wrong answer to this question. Like,
No,
if you told
absolutely
me
not.
your favorite, yeah, if you told me your favorite MCU movies were Hulk, Thor 2, Captain Marvel, whatever, but like there's no wrong answer. It's all subjective, but it is interesting to see the ones that overlap. I noticed like, and I'm gonna get to mine in 1 second, but like we all have like the Infinity War, at least on our or Anthony, did you have yours? Did you have Infinity War on your
I
list?
did, yeah.
Yeah, and I have it. So let me get to mine real quick. I'm gonna go actually 1 to 5. So like best, or I guess like number 1 to number 5. Uh, so number 1 for me is Iron Man, the original Iron Man. It's a movie that I feel extremely nostalgic for. 2008 was arguably the best year for superhero movies because it was Iron Man and The Dark Knight. And being I think 10 years old when that movie came out, it like really stuck with me, and it made Infinity War and Endgame all the worse to watch because just ask my girlfriend after I watched Avengers Endgame for the first time. I got in my car and I think I cried for about half an hour, like nonstop. Number 1 is Iron Man. Number 2 is Avengers Infinity War. It is my favorite of the two out of Infinity War and Endgame. I do like the ensemble cast a little bit more. It has more interactions with the characters. It was a little bit more exciting for me. Number 3 is Captain America Winter Soldier. Enough said. Number 4 is the OG number 1 Avengers. I did an MCU rewatch recently in preparation for WandaVision, and like the original Avengers movie, it holds up. And I'll never forget where I was when I saw that movie. I was on my 8th grade trip with my whole school to Washington D.C. My entire class rented out a theater, and I watched the first Avengers movies for the first time with all my friends, like literally all my friends. And being probably like 13 when the movie came out, every joke was like the funniest joke I'd ever heard. Like there was not one joke that missed. it was such a like memorable experience, something I'll never forget, honestly. And number 5 is Captain America: Civil War, another just like epic movie. It is fun, like as much as I like like the solo movies, the solo adventures of these heroes, it is just a little more fun, and special like when they're all together. And I think that shows by like the placement we have. Like we all have like Infinity War or Endgame on our top fives. So it really just goes to show like how crazy the MCU really is. So
Oh,
yeah.
definitely, I agree. It's like because again, like you said, there was nothing wrong with your list. Your list was completely different than mine, you
Mhm.
know. But we both like all these movies are great. Like that's what's so great about Marvel. I don't. There's been two movies they put out that aren't the greatest. The rest are hits.
What two are those in your opinion?
I would say Dark World. I would say Dark World and Hope. Those are the only two I'd say that truly missed.
Okay. How about that's a good discussion. Like for AJ and Anthony, any MC movies that were missed for you?
I feel like that. Okay, well, you know what? Anthony, go first because I got a lot of noise.
All right. I feel like a lot of them I either like or I'm either lukewarm about. I wouldn't say there's really any that I hate. Um, Although I will say Thor 2 is not great. Um, Despite Alan Taylor directing it, and I actually really like Alan Taylor as a director. He directed some fantastic episodes of The Sopranos. Shocking, I bring up The Sopranos, but um, that one's not great. Iron Man 2 is not great either, which is odd because Iron Man 3 I think is actually really underrated.
I agree.
Um,
Iron Man 3 is underrated.
Yeah. All right. I think I'm good a bit to go, but I don't want to like crap on a lot of the Phase One movies because all of them are even Iron Man 2. All of them are kind of growing pains because like you have all these Marvel movies. Are they connected in one way or another? Because this is all before Avengers. Like nobody knew what was going on with these films. So like I don't want to go too hard on the Phase One movies because it like I said, growing pains. But I feel like the only bad or quote unquote bad movie that was in Phase Two, Dark World, as you mentioned, and I just do want to come out and just say that for Phase Three, I was not a big fan of Black Panther. I mean, I liked the movie; it was great and everything, but I don't know. I just maybe I wasn't in like the right group. The I don't want to like point out like a specific group of people, but like I wasn't in like the minority for the film. Uh I didn't like the final battle all that much because it was very dark, and honestly, I prefer the fight in Venom over the fight in Black Panther. And I did watch Captain Marvel, or at least I watched a little of it, and I just found it kind of dull because it was, like you said, like the Marvel formula. It was like a cut and paste, played safe Marvel formula for Captain Marvel, and it didn't like hurt my experience for Endgame, not at all. But yeah, that's how I felt about it.
I think the only one on my rewatch that I really struggled to get through, and I know you guys just defended this movie, but Iron Man 3 just didn't work for me. Um I wasn't a fan of where they took the character in that movie. I mean, Tony Stark is I would say my favorite Avenger. But in something about Iron Man 3, it just kind of feels like he's like off his game and he never quite gets back on it until we see him again, like, in Age of Ultron and stuff. But even by then, he makes that like terrible mistake creating Ultron, which Tony Stark has an issue with creating his villains. So he's a hero, and Captain America calls him Earth's greatest defender. But he does have a habit of putting people at danger. So my next question for you guys would be, who is your favorite Avenger if you had to pick just one?
I would like to echo you, Tyler, because last year I did write like a 10-page paper about saying why Tony Stark is the greatest of all time. And this is actually for a final paper for my sophomore Greek class. So, I wrote about how not he's human. He's not a god like Thor. He's not like a supernatural, smart, intelligent person like Doctor Strange. He's human like you and me. and because of his flaws, it makes him the person that he is up until Endgame, where he makes that ultimate sacrifice. So that's why I think Tony Stark is the greatest, not only because of that, of all the friends and enemies he made, all the people that he inspired. Like, he's just what you consider to be a true hero.
Yeah. Can't argue with that, honestly. Ben?
Wait, are we counting just the original 6 Avengers or
You can go any character, any hero that fought in the Battle of Endgame. I mean, even like if you want to pick like Quicksilver, you can too. Any favorite hero, I'll say.
I mentioned it before. Spider-Man. He's just he's
an Avenger. Didn't he get knighted as an Avenger?
Yeah, in Infinity War, he did get knighted as an Avenger. So, Spider-Man. I mentioned it before. He's my favorite. But he's just such a relatable kind of character. He's a teenager that just kind of stumbles on getting powers. We don't know exactly. It was briefly mentioned, in Civil War and then in Spider-Man: Homecoming, and how he actually got his powers. So he did get the radioactive spider bite. So it is kind of cool to see how a kid like our age can become a superhero and be such an influential superhero in people's lives, like Tony Stark, who is the father of Marvel in the MCU. So I definitely gotta go Spider-Man.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
Yeah, right.
Anthony, how about you? Favorite hero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
That's an honestly tough question that I still don't completely have an answer to. I'm torn between Iron Man and Captain America, but I am leaning towards Captain America. And I'm basing this solely on the MCU, mainly because I really liked how his story ended in Endgame, mostly. I think the key to any great character is to have their ending honestly perfect, and I feel like he had a perfect ending.
So wait, Anthony, I just have a quick question for you. Were you Team Cap or Team Iron Man in Civil War?
Oh, I was Team Cap. Are you kidding?
Come on.
You don't seem to agree, Ben.
No, I'm Team Iron Man.
I don't know.
It's not just because Spider-Man's on that team. How are you gonna tell me, yes, like what happened in Lagos, which is actually being, kind of touched on in WandaVision, like that's bad. Like they killed a bunch of innocent civilians just to stop one superhero. Yes, Crossbones could have killed a lot more, but it could have been completely avoided in the sense that nobody had to die. So like the Sokovia Accords, as much as I don't agree with them, I kind of get where the embassy and Thunderbolt Ross they're coming from. And then what makes me even more mad is at the end where Tony rightfully gets mad at Cap and Bucky for Bucky killing his parents and Cap hiding it, and they jump him just because he's mad that he killed his parents. Like I don't know how you can side with Captain America on that.
Like was he not trying to commit murder? Was Tony not trying to murder the Winter Soldier at that moment?
I mean,
how is Cap going to allow that to happen?
But at the same time,
hasn't Tony Stark sold weapons of mass destruction to like terrorists and all that? Isn't that where he started?
His company.
See, that's before he made a realization. That's before
exactly.
He made a realization.
Wasn't it a whole thing where he was standing in the Jesus pose in the desert?
But that's what we call a character arc.
Before he changed.
Yeah,
that's what we
say that again, AJ.
That's what we call a character arc.
Yeah. Is it? Okay, but all right, so but the thing about the Sokovia Accords is like, what if Hydra is paying the politicians in charge to like not send the Avengers into battle like when they need it? Like the reason why Cap was like, we can't do the Sokovia Accords is because like he saw that the people that you think are the good guys can very well be the bad guys, and he didn't want to serve again underneath a corrupted system.
See, no, I get that, and there should be some instances where you can go against the Sokovia Accords, but something as minimal, as Crossbones and Lagos, and then all these people dying and a building exploding, like that could be avoided.
I also don't think
like a Thanos situation. Yes, they should all just not pay attention to the Sokovia Accords, and they do whatever they want. But there's some instances where yes, they should be regulated because they are superhumans. Like
I get
So
Scarlet Witch,
that,
for example.
talking,
but I also do feel that Tony's motivations for that were kind of weak. I mean, it was one mother came up. She was like, well, I forget what it even was.
Oh,
She
her
was
Like,
son
oh,
died
her
in
son.
Sokovia.
Yeah, yeah.
you. She like wagged her finger at him, and then he was like, "Ugh, I guess I got
he
to
felt
create a
guilty.
split in my group." Wasn't it
But
something like
you know,
that? I don't know. I haven't
while we're on
really
the
read
subject
the whole book.
of Civil War, the villain for that, Baron Zemo, he's coming back. And that's something that you can't say for a lot of these villains because they always get killed or they die. And here we have in Falcon and Winter Soldier, their new streaming show that's going to premiere like a week after WandaVision's over. We
Mhm.
Yeah,
have the
month.
return of Baron Zemo. How do you guys feel about that? I know for myself, I am so hyped that he's back. He's wearing his like comic accurate like purple face mask, which I saw like someone say like, oh, that's maybe he's like taunting the Avengers, like dressing up like Thanos.
I was gonna say that.
You
Yeah,
know,
I saw that theory as well.
so like, are you guys hyped for Falcon when the Winter Soldier?
Yeah, I feel like it'll be like a cool like back to basics for like anybody from the MCU because you got your human villain, no supernatural stuff, some of it, and then you just have your heroes just going out on an adventure and just taking them down, and not to mention more character stuff with Baron and Bucky. Like that'll be fun for that.
For sure. Yeah. Anthony, what are you most excited about for Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Something I'm definitely interested to see is the other side of this phase compared to the more cosmic side we're getting with WandaVision and Doctor Strange and all that. This is more grounded, and I think we're gonna get a lot more. Honestly, I'm just throwing in a little wild card here. We might get some of the Netflix heroes coming in through this kind of street point of view of this phase, maybe. That's what I'm kind of thinking, but it's definitely um there's definitely something going on with scrolls, I feel, because if you looked in the background of one of the shots, there was a wall of skulls that obviously were not human skulls, and they were tinted green. And I know that Secret Invasion is coming up in a couple of years, and I know I brought that up earlier. So honestly, I'm on the look for scrolls. I'm gonna start saying that everybody's a scroll from now on.
It's like you can't trust anyone.
Mm-hmm. And then
And
maybe the multiverse stuff with WandaVision creates this kind of tension where people really aren't sure of who to really trust.
Oh, that'd be
c-
pretty cool.
I know that there's another villain, I'm pretty sure. What's his name? The like
U.S.
the
agent.
fake Captain America?
Oh, U.S. agent. U.S. agent. I was gonna mention him.
Do
He
you know anything about that guy? Because like I
yeah.
haven't heard of people aren't really talking about him that much.
Yeah, so from what I understand is like I'm excited for this show. I feel like we're gonna get a lot of new characters and just more like Anthony said. It's gonna be more grounded in terms of we're watching WandaVision where we see Wanda Maximoff and playing Malcolm in the Middle. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's gonna be cool that you see more grounded. But U.S. Agent, from what I'm theorizing is that Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they're both fugitives. They're still fugitives of the Sokovia Accord, and I guess the government wants a new Captain America. So I forget his name. I know it's U.S. agent, but I forget his name. Oh, John Walker. John Walker, that's his name. So John Walker, he's U.S. agent. He's going to be the next Captain America, and I'm assuming Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They're gonna kind of have to fight him as well as Baron Zemo. And I have a bold theory that I think by the end of the show, no Falcon, no Winter Soldier, or U.S. Agent are going to be Captain America. I think it's going to be Eli Bradley, the Patriot. You know who that is?
No.
So he's a descendant. There's in the comics. There's another Captain America. I forget his name, but he's an African American Captain America.
Oh, I know
And
what you're talking
in
about.
World War, he's in one of the wars, maybe Vietnam. I'm not big. I don't remember it totally. But he's the grandson of that Captain America, and he might be in the Young Avengers, which they are setting up. I mean, we already have Billy and Tommy Maximoff. We have Stature. We have Kate Bishop in the upcoming Hawkeye series. So I definitely feel like they are building towards the Young Avengers. So I feel like Eli Bradley will be the Captain America by the end of this show.
Is there like, are they introducing that character? Like, do we know of anything?
Nobody. See,
There's, I think Eli Bradley. It's the grandson of
I forget
the man during World War II who was the test subject for the super soldier serum.
Yes,
and
that's
he kind of got like he was kind of an unsung hero that wasn't really talked about. And so Eli Bradley, I believe, is kind of his grandson. But I believe
he is his grandson.
There's someone who's cast who's theorized to be the grandfather from back in Captain America's day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. That would be interesting because I think there's a lot of confusion about like who's taking up the Cap mantle because obviously at the end of Endgame, Steve Rogers gives his shield to Sam Wilson. So when I saw that, I took it as, well, Sam will be the new Cap. Like he's been Captain America in the comics before. He's got a really cool. Have you guys ever seen the comic book Falcon Captain America? It's like the coolest looking Captain America costume in my opinion. I love it. And it looks cool because he's got like these big, almost like I think of them as like bald eagle wings, as opposed to like his falcon wings. He doesn't quite have that costume in the show. He has like a new suit, but it's like not quite that. But like apparently, like kind of like what you said, neither Falcon or Bucky is like the new definitive Cap. It's like this like Walker character, I guess.
Yeah, John Walker, US
agent. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting, and like it's gonna be cool to see that, like an evil Captain America. It reminds me of like Homelander from The Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Like a false page. And another thing about the show that I was reading about is like there's this like militant group from the comics that they're introducing called Flag Smashers,
and
they're like anti-patriotism, like whatever like that means, and it'd be cool to see a new. I think Marvel has so many fun like secret evil organizations, so it's fun to like add another one to that list.
See, the Flag Smasher, he was actually like he was just a villain, like it was just him. They never had a group of Flag Smashers. It was just like one villain. So now they adapted it as a group.
Is it that shot of that one girl putting that mask on?
Yes.
I think I wrote down. She reminds me of the Tinkerer from Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Yes.
Vaguely.
Yeah.
It gives me those kind of vibes. So those are the Flag Smashers?
Yes, those are the Flag Smashers.
I wonder like are they connected to Zemo? Is Zemo connected to US Agent? Like what who could tell at this point, really?
I think they're building up to the Thunderbolts.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because obviously because we should have seen, Black Widow by this point, where Thunderbolt Ross is actually like a pretty notable character in that show. I mean, in that movie. So I feel like he might be building the Thunderbolts.
Would you want to see Red Hulk at some point?
Yeah.
I would love Red Hulk.
Isn't that actor supposed to be in She-Hulk?
Which one?
The actor who plays Thunderbolt Ross.
I believe so.
I believe he's supposed to be in She-Hulk, so maybe he appears as Red Hulk then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder
back how the situation is with Universal.
I also hear for the She-Hulk TV show they're going to bring back the villain from the Incredible Hulk, Abomination. I don't know if it's the same actor or not, but
they're bringing back Abomination.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Well, because I do know in one of the Marvel one-shots they did mention he was still alive, and they actually wanted him in the Avengers. Wasn't that right?
So there was a comic. It was called like Nick Fury's Big Week or something like that, where like Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk, Thor, those 3 movies all take place the same week, or something like that. And apparently, like for the Avengers Initiative, they wanted Abomination to be like their representative, because he was technically like he was like an armed force member, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So they sent Tony Stark to talk to Thunderbolt Ross about it because they knew that they wouldn't get along, so they wouldn't make the deal. So that's why like Tony Stark's in the after credit scene for Hulk. Oh, wow. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Go
Interesting.
ahead.
No, I mean, I was gonna say something very dumb because, like, I know that Hulk is part of the MCU, but I was just thinking because it's owned by Universal, it's not on Disney Plus, or it's not in the box set. I was wondering, oh, maybe they could like integrate the metaverse with it, but then I just remembered, oh yeah, I forgot this is still part of the MCU. It's just they don't have the same Hulk anymore. Abomination might be different, but yeah, I am kind of interested in what they're gonna do with the She-Hulk show, especially like her character, since she's very snarky and a little fourth wall breaking, and I wonder how that's gonna be integrated into like a court drama. So I'm wondering, curious about that, especially with the whole Hulk situation with Universal and Disney. I don't know. I think it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. And to kind of segue out of that, you know, right now we're obviously in WandaVision. We're looking at Black Widow coming up pretty soon, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Hawkeye TV show, Spider-Man movie. You know, we have so many of these projects to look forward to. Um, Kind of to end the show, what are we looking forward to the most out of all the streaming shows coming out and all the movies? Which project has you most excited? I know my pick, but I'll let you guys go first. If you guys want to start off, maybe Ben.
Okay. You might take a guess on what I'm excited for. Spider-Man
Spider-Man.
3. Yeah, it's Spider-Man 3. I mean, and it's not just because it's Spider-Man, right? It's all this build and this hype around it, and then obviously it's the next thing in that kind of like that quote unquote trilogy with WandaVision, Spider-Man 3, Multiverse of Madness. So it is that next step, and especially after watching WandaVision, I kind of want to know what happens next. And then obviously, you know, the rumors of Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Alfred Molina. I've seen Electro, Green Goblin. I'm just forgetting. But you're seeing all these, you know, these castings. Like if they could make a live action Spider Verse, and Spider Verse, like Spider Man Into the Spider Verse, is one of my favorite Spider Man movies. That movie is phenomenal. So if they could make a live action Spider Verse, maybe even introduce Miles Morales again for the Young Avengers, that would be really cool. And then obviously and then that would lead into Doctor Strange, where another young Avenger, America Chavez, is being introduced. So like, I'm excited to see where Spider Man is going to go with that movie. Even though I want it to be an adaptation of Kraven's Last Hunt, I feel like that would be the perfect story for Spider-Man 3, especially, you know, since his identity's revealed and they want to capture him. Kraven, you know, they send Kraven to go find him, that kind of thing. I wanted that. That would be a really cool adaptation. But I'm kind of happy with this multiverse thing that they're kind of teetering with, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. I would have also liked to see Craven. I think that this is kind of like a set like a off topic, but I've always felt that Jason Momoa was incredibly miscasted as Aquaman, and he was perfect for Craven. And
Absolutely.
that would have been cool to see. But you know, you're right. Like the prospect of like the Spider Verse is just it's too exciting. So Anthony, let's hear it. What's your most excited about MCU project?
I'm gonna say two. One of them, one that Ben just said, Spider-Man. Obviously, for all the Spider-Verse stuff, I grew up watching the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie so much, and with all the rumors going around that he might be in it, that's has me excited. But one of the other ones I have is Secret Invasion, just because I find it really interesting. Like I was talking about with Falcon and Winter Soldier, just trying to really see who has been a scroll or who is.
Yeah. I hope that there is like a cool scroll reveal that like a character from like phase 1 or 2 has all this time been a scroll. Like that's what they did. I'm pretty sure in the comics it was Elektra. They revealed that she was like a scroll for the
Or
past like 10
I
years
believe
of
it's
comics or
here. I
something.
think
What was
Sharon
it?
Wow.
Carter. I believe
Who?
Sharon Carter as a scroll.
Oh, you think
Oh,
she's
that
gonna
would
be
be
the
cool.
Skull?
Yeah,
People are
Wow,
thinking that.
That would
that'd
be
be
cool.
cool.
Can you imagine? Because she hasn't really been. I know she's coming back in Falcon Winter Soldier, but she hasn't really been that. Maybe she's a scroll on that TV show. That'd be insane.
yeah.
So,
Or maybe that might lead into it.
oh my god! And
Maybe.
you know, they're really like, if WandaVision is any indication, like these shows are like they're trying to make them unskippable. You cannot not see WandaVision, and
No,
hopefully that's the
absolutely
same
not.
for like the rest of these shows.
I mean, like with like the Avenger movies, like you could skip out on maybe one or two films, but with the shows, yeah, not really.
Yeah. So AJ, what is your most excited MCU new coming up thing?
For Phase 4, yeah, we're in Phase 4. I just forgot. Uh, I'm actually gonna go with Thor: Love and Thunder because
Yeah.
going off the heels of Ragnarok and how experimental that movie was, maybe Love and Thunder will be like in the same position. I mean, they're gonna do more with Natalie Portman's character, so I'm kind of excited about that. And yeah, I mean, like if it's gonna be based off of like 70s, 80s rock, because that's what like the Love and Thunder logo looks like to me. I think it's gonna be a fun film and a good follow up to Ragnarok.
Yeah.
I think
I
that's
honestly I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Like that's a great pick, and also like that it's also like the I still think it should have been called like As Guardians of the Galaxy
that would be
because
cool.
but yeah, that looks great. Um so I guess for my pick, I'm gonna go with Doctor Strange. The first Doctor Strange movie, it's not the most like it's very similar, I find, to like the first Iron Man movie, where it's about like a snobby rich guy being humbled and then learning to like, be better for others. But just the the potential that that character has for a film, and with Sam Raimi behind it, like I truly expect it to be like the most mind melting MCU movie like yet, especially since it's going crazy into the multiverse. And we got that. I feel like we've only gotten a little peek of what Doctor Strange could be. In Infinity War, we saw like his what a crazy action scene with him is like against another like superpowered being. I hope we get just much more of that. Like if it was just 2 hours of that kind of combat, then it'd be a perfect movie.
Especially if you got Sam Raimi directing, who directed Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. Like I think it's gonna be like a real fun time.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be for sure. But that's pretty much all the topics I wanted to cover today. If anyone wanted to say some like closing words on the MCU, now would be the time. And also, if you want to plug, any like social media or anything like that, feel free to do so as well.
I'll go first. Okay. We got a crazy ride ahead of us in terms of Marvel. We don't have any non-Marvel content until the end of the year. Every week is a new Marvel show or movie. So I'm excited. And then I also always got to plug Extra Point here on Hawk TV. Stay tuned for any episodes on this YouTube channel. And that's all I got, really.
All right, Anthony.
So, like Ben said, there's a lot to be looking forward to in the MCU if you're a fan. So definitely check out for that. But also, my show, Backseat Directing, it will be coming out soon. Watch out for it.
Awesome,
All right.
AJ.
Well, I guess like for Marvel at least, like I just hope that like they make sure they pace themselves because I don't want them to have a burnout like for something like Star Wars circa 2018. But not since Star Wars is like getting back on their feet, hopefully. I just hope that for either of these companies that they don't fall into like the same hands and they might potentially get a burnout and like productions are going to get like postponed or whatever. So I'm just hoping that they take their time with releasing their content and making sure that it's good content that a lot of people would like. And as for plugs, obviously you got Hawk TV, so please just check out our stuff. But for my personal plugs, I'm not gonna work on it. I'm gonna work on it until maybe next week, 2 weeks for the next triple scoop, and then I'll see where it goes for that when it comes to plugs.
All right, sounds good. And Star Wars would be a good episode for a future, triple scoop spotlight episode. So maybe look out for that in the future. But I think that's be all for tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining me and talking Marvel with me. And if you're watching this, thank you so much. And triple scoop out.